Raise your hand. Okay. So you grew up kind of probably like I did. You're from Georgia. Fall means it turns around and falls off. Right? When I first started, I lived actually in South Georgia. This is not South. I lived in South Georgia on a farm when I grew up. And then came up to Statesboro, went to college there, moved to Atlanta, came back to the Savannah area, lived in the Savannah area for about 5 years. Left here, went to Bluffton, lived there for 8 years. Y'all know where Bluffton and Hilton Head are. Then I got the job with Christian Tours and moved to North Carolina. And I moved up in November. I take that back. I started meeting with them the first week of November or the last week of October. So when I went up there the first time, this is what I saw. And I literally thought I had died and gone to heaven. I was like, oh my gosh, I love the leaves. I love the leaves. So this is our everyday drive in the fall in North Carolina. The office, the home office for Christian Tours, is just outside of Charlotte. So we see these kind of fall leaves every fall. It's amazing. So if you lived in the New England states, raise your hand. Anybody from the New England states? Yes. Where?
Sort of.
Sort of? Okay. So if you've lived northeast, you've seen fall colors, beautiful fall colors. And even if you're from Georgia like us, we used to come up to North Carolina. We would come up to Franklin and the different places to see the leaves in the fall. So this is going to be a trip I think you're going to really like, even if you've been there before. But I want to tell you a little bit about it. Before I go into the trip, though, I want to tell you a little bit about the company. Have any of you ever traveled with or even heard of the company before this trip?
Yeah.
2 of you have. Okay.
May I ask you a question, please?
Yes, sure.
Your screen said this is 2025. This says 2024.
It's 24. Screen's
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Screen's wrong. Trip is this year. Trip is this year. Go by the paper. Go by the paper. It's this fall. This fall. Good question. Good question. I just put that date in there 2 days ago. So we've already got trips on the books for 25. So that was a misprint of mine. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate that. So the company Christian Tours was started by a husband and wife that lived in North Carolina years and years ago in the 70s, just wanted to take their friends and family on trips, okay? He actually was what we would call the minister of music or the worship leader at his church outside of Asheville. And so most of everybody that he hung out with were Christians. So that's why they named the company Christian Tours. Now, I will tell you, being the sales director with them going on 11 years, many of the customers who travel with us don't even claim to go to church. We've got folks that are Jewish. We've got folks that are Christian of different denominations. We've got folks that don't claim any affiliation. The consistent denominator there is the standards. They like the standards that we offer through Christian Tours. And that's what we'll talk a little bit about today. So the company has the knowledge, we've got the experience, they've got an incredible record in the motor coach industry, got some of the best safety records, praise God, in the motor coach industry. But I want to set the record straight, especially for a community like this. We have a lot of communities that travel with us. And I know when you're in a residential community, people come from all walks of life. And if you're not a Christian or you don't claim to be one, if you have different beliefs, you might be thinking, well, what does that mean to be Christian Tours? And people ask me that all the time, and I tell them we're Christian Tours because we are. For us, what that means is the standards are high. We offer the best that we can for the best price. We like the consistency of excellence, but we also want it to be in a family-friendly environment. So you're not going to hear dirty jokes. You're not going to hear inappropriate storytelling, not in ours. Now, we do have people that travel with us. Some people drink alcohol. Some people don't drink alcohol. That's entirely up to you, okay? That has nothing to do with the trip. It's entirely up to you, whether you do or not. But the company standard is of excellence, and that's who we are. That's at our core. We're still owned and operated by the family. The Burks, the husband and wife that started us, they passed on, but they handed the reins down to their daughter Melanie about 2 years before they died. And so Melanie and her 2 girls are at the helm. So still top-notch community company, family business. We have a fleet of about 40 plus of those top-of-the-line Prevost coaches. You will be in one of those. The logo on the outside may look different. We are in the process of changing over from this logo, which was our original logo, to the new logo. Same, similar, but a little different, but same company. So you might see both on the road. All Prevost coaches, all top of the line. We do all of our own servicing, all of our own maintenance, all of our own cosmetics. So we do our own painting, our own decaling, our own replacement and changing out of the seats and the floor and all that kind of stuff. We do that about every 2, 3, 4 years on all the coaches. So we do all of that. As I said, they are top notch. It's a comfy ride. I've got one picture, I think, with some seats. Now, these are actually red. They look hot pink, but they're actually red, but they're not all red. You might be on one that has blue. They might be purple. They might be green. They might be a combination of different colors. So it's just whatever Prevost had to choose from for that year. But the most important feature, outside of the fans and the reading lights and the reclining and the footrest and the drink holder and the overhead storage and all this, the most important feature is all the way at the back of the aisle. That's right, the restroom. But I will tell you, yes, they all are equipped with a restroom, but we stop every 2 hours to get you off the coach, let you have a break, use the bathroom where you're not moving, and take a break, have a drink, have a snack, whatever you need to do, stretch your legs. So that's every 2 hours. So when we leave here that day, what we will do is we'll drive for 2 hours, we'll take a break. We'll drive for 2 hours, we'll have lunch. Well, actually, by the time we drive another couple hours, we'll be there. You're gonna have your lunch at Lake Lorraine, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's kind of the schedule when we're on the road, is every couple of hours we're taking a break. So that's what the insides kind of look like, kind of fancy. You will be driving, taking your tour with one of our staff, actually 2 of our staff if you count the driver. So every trip goes with a driver and a tour director. Now, why is that important? Have y'all traveled with other companies, taken bus trips? Mm-hmm. Okay. Some companies plan the trips and they charter. They'll make all the plans, but they don't own buses, they don't own coaches, so they charter. With us, because we own the coach, these drivers are our employee. That's important to us because we're able to maintain those standards. So again, the coach, you're not gonna have a really beautiful bus and then a really cruddy looking bus. You're gonna always have top of the line Prevost coaches. You're not gonna have a really good driver and one that was not so good. These are our employees. They have to go through the same annual training. They certified every year. They have to, they do an obstacle course with North Carolina state troopers every year to see who's the best, going through all these different turns and backing and turning around those cones things over there and all that kind of thing. So top of the line drivers, and you're gonna go with one of our tour directors. Now, out of that picture, who do you think the drivers are and who do you think the tour directors are? Tell me what you think. First glance, what would you say? What would you say first glance? Can you tell?
Female is the driver.
You knew where I was going. We do have a female driver, but actually we've got driver, tour director, tour director, tour director. So we have men and women that are tour directors. We do have a lady who is a driver. I think she's our only one at this point. Her name is Brandy, top notch. But most of the drivers are men. So you might have a man or a woman as the tour director. What's the job of the tour director? Number 1, to make sure that trip runs smoothly. Number 2, these ladies, if they go on the trip, don't have to do a thing except enjoy visiting with you, okay? So they're gonna be counting your heads and making sure you're all on the coach. If you get lost, our staff are gonna be looking for you. Well, they might be looking for you too, but our staff are gonna be the ones that are counting heads and making sure everybody's on and everything's managed good. They're gonna be doing the hotel check-in, and if you have a problem at your hotel, you don't have to call Gretchen, you can call the tour director. You'll have her cell phone number or his cell phone number if there's anything along the way. So that's their job, is to go along and make sure everything runs smoothly. Again, it's all about those standards. Now let's talk about the trip. Lake Lure and Biltmore Estate. How many of you have been there before? Raise your hand. Yeah, all of us.
Biltmore.
You-
Not
the
Lake
Biltmore.
Lure, but.
Not Lake Lure, but the Biltmore. Okay, okay. So most of us have been to one or the other. You guys, yes? Yes and no. Okay, all right. You're gonna love it. So this is a 2-day trip. Again, we started small just to get the feeler out there and see if you guys and the rest of the community enjoyed it. And then included meals will be, of course, breakfast and a lunch, and I'll tell you about that as we go through the day by day. Now, if you don't have one of these, let me know, because what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be going through this. I think I gave everybody one. Some of you came in with yours. No, we're on the first page right now, okay? So we're going to be going through the first page. So on day one, our coach, driver, tour director are going to get here to the community, and does it say what time we're leaving?
Yes, 7 a.m.
Okay, all right, you already know it's 7 a.m. If you didn't know that, some people may not come to this meeting, they may not hear about it, they might not know. About 2 weeks before the trip leaves, we send a letter to everyone who has signed up on the trip. And in that letter, it's gonna have not only the name of the driver and the tour director, the expected weather, all those kind of things. It's gonna have also the time restated there in the flyer, in the letter that you get 2 weeks before the trip leaves. Everybody will get that letter. And it will have also the expected return time, okay? So expected departure time is 7 a.m., okay? Which means we'll be here before that. Now, why do we need to go at 7 a.m.? To get you from here to Lake Lure Inn to have lunch at a decent hour, okay? So that's what we're trying to do. So we're leaving a little earlier than we normally do, but keep in mind we'll still have rest breaks, okay? So once we get there, we will have lunch. Now, right across from here, over on this side of the road, is the Lake Lure Inn. The Lake Lure Inn has been there for a long, long time. You see the date, 1927, Lake Lure Inn and Spa. You're gonna have a buffet lunch there. That's what they always do for us. So you'll go there, have your nice buffet lunch, and then you'll go across the road to where you get on the pontoon boats. And sometimes they'll split our group up into 2 pontoon boats. And we go all around the lake. You'll see where, have any of you seen the movie, came out in the, I want to say maybe 90s, Dirty Dancing? You saw, maybe saw that movie with Patrick Swayze. Do you remember, hello, come on in. Gretchen, will you get this lady one of the flyers and stuff? Oh, you're videotaping. Okay, Kaylin, will you do that? They're on that table back there. Thank you so much. When Jennifer went down the steps and she was practicing her dance moves, and I won't do that because I'm not good, but when Jennifer went down those steps, you'll see where that was filmed, because it was filmed on Lake Lure. So you'll see where that is. So Lake Lure is gorgeous. That is actually footage from Lake Lure in the fall. So if you like the fall leaves, some of you might say, oh, I've seen as many leaves as I want to see. You'll be amazed. You'll be surrounded by fall on the lake. So it's gorgeous. Get your cameras ready because you'll enjoy it a lot. We will travel on from Lake Lure to Asheville, and we're going to overnight at the DoubleTree. Now we only stay, again, standards, we only stay at 4-star or higher out of a 5-star rating, okay? So that's where you're going to be. How many of you have stayed at a DoubleTree before? What is the most important, wonderful, beautiful thing that DoubleTree offers when you first walk in?
Cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies. We love DoubleTree.
Barbara knows.
So yes, they will have those ready for you when you get there.
Good right now.
Now, that'd be good now, yes it would. On day 2, we get up, we have breakfast at the hotel. Yes, ma'am.
Day one.
Mhm.
We stay on day one.
Uh-huh.
2 considerations.
Yes, ma'am.
How about if it's raining that day?
Oh, good question. The pontoon boat does have a roof, and it does have sides that can come down. So if it's lightly raining, they will still go. If it's horrific rain, then we go to a plan B. I don't know. But what we do is, as we're planning and we're getting closer and we can see that 10-day forecast, then our office team is looking at it, okay? And we've had to handle things on the fly before. I'll tell you how that happened. I actually had the opportunity to tour direct a 1-day trip we had It was just a few years after I started with the company, and it was called the Smoky Mountain Train. And you go up to Bryson City, and you get on the train, and you go through the Smoky Mountains. It's beautiful in the fall. So I had a full bus of people, and here we go, we're driving, heading to the train. And I get a call from the office, Tammy, we just got a call from the train, and something has happened on one of the tracks, and the train is not running. Now, I'm on a one-day trip, and that's all we're doing that day. So I said, okay, what's our plan B? They said, we'll call you right back. We just wanted to give you kind of a heads up. This is what we're looking at. I said, okay. I didn't have to find something. I was the tour director of that trip. So I didn't have to look. I didn't have to figure it out. We had a team of our staff at the office who came up with a plan B. And they had it, and we did it, and everybody loved it. So if that happens and we're rained out, we would have a plan B, okay? So we've had those things happen. I mean, in 47 years, 47 years, you get pretty much anything that you could think of has happened before. Great question. Yes, ma'am?
Question number 2.
Uh-huh.
There's approximately 12 people here.
Uh-huh.
Who else is going on that bus?
Great question. So I'm going to come back to that. If you will benchmark that for me, I'm going to come back to that in just a minute, okay? Because we're going to talk about the numbers when we get to the pricing, and I'll cover that as well, okay? And any more questions at this time?
The temperature, like that time of year is what, around the 70s up there?
Typically, it's in the 70s.
Okay.
Again, when we send out that letter about 2 weeks before, that expected forecast will be in that letter. So that'll give you an idea. I always tell people, when you're going out on a boat in the fall, bring something to go over your arms. If you're at all cold-natured, okay, bring something, just because of the wind coming off the water. Yeah, not counting even on the coach. You know, if you're really cold-natured, bring you a little throw or something on your, arms or something on the coach. But definitely going on the water in the fall, bring a little something. But we'll cover the weather also in that letter that comes to you about 2 weeks before. And we're going to have open forum here for more questions in just a minute. So we will come back to the number category. So day 2, we get up, we have breakfast. Then we travel, we're in Asheville now because we've overnighted there. So we're going to travel over to the Biltmore estate and mansion. Now, if you haven't been there in a few years, you may not have ever been to Antler Hill Village and the winery. And those are shops, restaurants right at the little winery. You can walk in, you can look around, you can do free tastings if you enjoy wine, or you can skip that and go spend your money or your time elsewhere. But we're going to start at the mansion, and we're going to take a self-guided tour through the mansion, which means you take your time, you walk through. You've got docents all through where there's staff there can answer your questions. They're pointing out stuff. So you can tour the mansion. Next to the mansion, where the stables, the barn was right there. Now there's different shops and stuff in there as well. Ice cream shop, if you're an ice cream eater. So it's good, it is good. So you can do all of that. And again, this is actual fall foliage pictures of the estate. So we'll have lunch on our own while we're there, and then go to the Antler Hill Village, which is just getting back on the bus and riding through the estate a little bit to it. The top picture is just a little small section of Antler Hill Village. So then we'll travel home. On the way home, we will stop for a rest break and have, if we need to, have supper along the way, have it on your own. When we stop or when we have a meal on your own, what that means is you're going to be somewhere where you have choices and you just buy it yourself. Okay, so whereas lunch at Lake Lure Inn is included, if you have a lunch on your own or a dinner on your own, we would stop somewhere, or like here, you're going to be at the estate. You can here next to the mansion where you've got those shops, you've got sandwiches and stuff there you can get. Or as we go on further on the estate to the village, you've got more places where you can actually get lunch there as well. And then we'll be making rest breaks along the way. So if you don't see anything there, you can also wait when we make that rest stop along the way and get something. So you've got choices. We always, if we're gonna stop on the road for something, it is typically where you've got multiple places next to each other. Our tour director and the driver typically coordinate their plan for that. But I can also find out what that plan is and let your leadership know. But I'm talking about like stopping where you've got a McDonald's and a Chick-fil-A and a such and such, and everybody gets off the coach and goes and gets what they want and then comes back to the coach. So that's kind of a meal on your own. So, or dinner on your own in Asheville would be taking you somewhere where you've got choices like that, and then you can get what you want. So you will need a little bit of spending money in addition to what the trip cost is, just for those extra meals. You can also take snacks if you want to on the coach. Drinks, you can take drinks on the coach. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now I'm going to go to the next slide, and we're going to answer questions in just a moment, okay? So let's talk about the numbers question first on this slide. If you go to page 2 of your flyer, that's where you're going to see this pricing, okay? So you see that it says per person priced based on 30 or more people. The trip was priced for 30 people or more. And by that, what I mean is, when you're putting a trip plan together, just like if you were running your own budget, we can see how much the hotel is. Okay, that's simple. Let's just say it was $100 a night. We wish, but let's say it was $100 a night. Okay, and then you've got the attractions that we build in there. Those are all things that we can split up per person. Okay, transportation cost comes up to be a lump sum, and that's based on how many miles it is from here to there and back, how many days the coach and the staff are on the road, and that goes into a lump sum. So let's say that cost is $3,000. Okay, we take that cost and we divide it by a certain number of people, and then we add in the hotel and the attractions and the meals, and then you come up with your prices that you're looking at. Okay, so that's why we have to base that number on something, because of that lump sum transportation cost. It has to be divided by something to build into this pricing. Okay, so 30 is the number that all Christian tours trips, even the catalog, are based on 30 or more people. Now the coach will hold 52 people, but typically we cap it at 48. And that's because we have 2 seats right behind the driver where our tour director will be. And then we leave 2 seats empty on all of our coaches, at least 2 seats empty, just in case somebody has to prop up their legs. Okay, just in case something were to happen and somebody needs to stretch back and prop up. So 2 seats, so 48, 30 to 48 is your window. Okay, so now in answer to your question, you've got 10 or 15 a year. Where are the rest of them coming from? Okay, what we're going to do, and this is something that Kaylin and Gretchen and I have come up with together, my recommendation, as a matter of fact, is that they have people outside of this community that are connected to this community, your friends, your family, people that are waiting to move into this community when there's an opening, different ones that are connected to Thrive that want to join you on this trip.